Okay, Aiden, what I'd like you to do now is describe both the extrinsic and intrinsic factors that you think cause sports injuries. Can you describe some preventative measures for these factors in order to prevent sports injuries occurring? And throughout your presentation, can you give me some examples of preventative measures in sports which are in place and are designed to reduce risk factors? So think about your coaching, think about you playing football, think about any sport that you've been involved with that give some examples of how injuries are prevented. Okay, good luck.
The first extrinsic factor would be coaching, and injuries are caused in many ways, and one is down to poor coaching. If your coach is teaching your participants and using the wrong coaching technique, then this can lead to the participants sustaining an injury. If the coach also describes the rules of a game incorrectly, then this can cause injuries. For example, if a rugby coach teaches his players to tackle poorly, then this is dangerous to both players involved with the tackle. Another example would be a coach using the wrong technique for a somersault. Participants would be using false information and it's dangerous to them. In order to stop injury by poor coaching, you should always show participants a correct technique to use. Also, to reduce injury, you should also do a warm-up and a cool-down before every session. The ways that my coach prevents our injuries is always doing a thorough warm-up and cool-down after every session. That way our muscles get rid of all lactic acid, so we're not going to get cramp or seize up. Also, during the winter, the ground's usually really hard, so the coach tells us to go onto a different playing surface, and that prevents us from getting any grazes, which might prevent us from playing football. Another extrinsic factor is equipment. If equipment can cause, different equipment can cause an injury to many sporting participants. This because different types of equipment throughout sports have different, sports such as lacrosse involve lacrosse sticks and they're swung around in different directions, and if they hit a participant, then they can really cause harm. An example of an injury caused by equipment is if a class is playing baseball, one of the batters swings, there's a chance that person could release the bat, and if that's flying through the air, then it's very hazardous. Another example is a five-a-side pitch. If the five-a-side goals aren't secured correctly to the wall, then there's a chance it could fall over and then they could fall onto somebody. To prevent injuries, you would ensure that none of the equipment is damaged before the session, ensure that after the session you'd ensure that they're all put away correctly and neatly, so that way there's no chance that they can be damaged. Another extrinsic factor is environmental factors. The environment plays a huge part on sports sessions. This because it can be really dangerous to participate in sporting activities within different weather conditions. Injuries can also be caused by things such as holes or raised surfaces in the ground. In sport, the weather can make a huge difference. An example is playing in warm conditions, which you can become dehydrated. If you become dehydrated, you can pass out. Another sporting example is playing on hard ground during the summer. In the summer, pitches become very hard and rutted, and you can run through holes. That way you can roll your ankle, you can sometimes break your ankle. In order to stop injuries this way, you should always check the weather prior to your session, and always check that the playing surfaces are good before the start. Final extrinsic factor is clothing. If participants wear the incorrect footwear while playing on an astroturf, they can fall over, they could graze the knees, they could fall over and bang their heads, or they could roll their ankles. Safety hazards such as jewellery are also huge factors during sporting participation. This because it can get caught on clothing or other individuals, and if that happens, then it could come out of their ear and also cause harm to them. A sporting example of injury from clothing is if a person is playing football on an astroturf and falls over and breaks his arm, for example, it would be down to him wearing trainers that were balled underneath and not having the correct grip. Another sporting example is similar to a jewellery. If a girl is wearing netball, a girl is playing netball and she's wearing an earring, if she hasn't covered it with a plaster and she runs past another player, her ear could get caught and it could just tear it out. To prevent these injuries, the coach should always check the participants before the session, make sure they've got no jewellery on, make sure they've got the correct footwear and they're not likely to be injured. Intrinsic factors, one of them is the variables of the individual, for example such as gender, sleep, flexibility, nutrition and previous injuries can cause these injuries and have to be taken into account when playing sport. A sporting example could be a long distance runner. Prior to the event, if they do not eat the correct food, they won't be getting the correct nutrients and won't have enough energy to carry out their event. This could result in them being lightheaded throughout the event, being dehydrated and also passing out. Another sporting example would be a rugby player. If he's broken his shoulder previously, like say a few years ago, if there's in a scrum, the injury could come back and then made the joint less weak. To prevent injury caused by individual variables, the coach should always encourage his participants to eat a more unhealthy lifestyle and if his previous injuries start to come back, should take it easy and do some rehabilitation. Physiotherapy, sorry. Preventative measures. As a coach, you have a duty of care towards the people that you're coaching. In order to prevent injuries from occurring, risk assessments must be put in place. To ensure the facilities you are working in are safe. Regular safety checks must be carried out in order to make sure that there is nothing that could possibly injure the participants, and the coach will also be expected to know how all of the equipment is used correctly. As a coach, you have to follow the correct necessary emergency action plans. This may include bringing a first aid kit with you while you are coaching, or knowing the correct procedures if a participant passes out or in the event of a fire drill. Another intrinsic variable is physical preparation. Injuries caused by physical preparation are things that you as a coach cannot change. Injuries caused by these are down to the incorrect warm-up, not doing an effective cool-down after exercises, or overtraining. They can also be caused by the group's fitness levels or muscle imbalance. A sporting example caused by this is if participants do not warm up correctly throughout the session, they are more likely to get a muscle strain. An example of overtraining. Overtraining causes the body to become tired, which makes your body more prone to injury. You can prevent injury by overtraining by having regular days rest after sports to give you time to recover. Another intrinsic individual example is posture. Injuries can be caused by poor posture. Posture can be caused by various problems. The first is lordosis, and this is an excessive inward curve of the spine. It makes the structure of the body imbalanced and which is caused by pregnancy, signal problems, or birth or excessive weight. So this is more likely to happen to women once they're coming back from pregnancy, coming back into sport. Kyphosis is the forward rounding of your upper back and might also be referred to as round back or having a hunchback. When you have kyphosis, your neck is curved more than 50 degrees. Scoliosis is where your spine is curved from side to side. An example of this would be a weightlifter using the wrong technique. As he's lifting, his spine can just give either way. Another sporting example is rowing. Over time, your spine will adopt a posture position because you sat down regularly. Over time, your posture will change and you may adopt a lordotic posture. Ways to avoid these injuries are to always use the correct technique in each activity that you take part in, and your coach should always tell you that.
Fantastic, Aiden. Thank you very much.